Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Definitely not a BumbleKast mini, this one. This is a BumbleKast maxi, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they call it these days. Anyway, hi, Ian. We're back. It's another Monday.
Hi, Kyle. Yep. And we have more questions from our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members.
And also, some of these are from the most recent YouTube live stream as well. We have a very packed week, so be sure to tune in for the next over the next couple days, over the next week actually, to hear a ton of new Q&A. We got a lot, so let's get right into it. Oh, wait, nope, hold on.
Because if you missed it last week, we're saving the thank you list that we've been doing every episode for just end of the month because it's gotten gigantic. And we're just going to thank everybody all in one go when we wrap up July. So we'll see y'all then.
Yes. At the end of every month, we'll do one last shout out to everybody. So, all right. Let's start off with this one from 4SonicFan. In a very old Q&A, Miles said he used his magic to boost Dr. Kintobor's globe post to reach across to the Mobian star post. Now I wonder how powerful is Miles with his magic.
I do not remember this.
Did he have magic?
Not really, no.
Was he magic?
Now, it's been so long since I've worked with, the Archie Sonic stuff. It may be there was a line in there somewhere that I missed. Or maybe it's something along the lines of he used his technical prowess to increase the magical output of the star posts, but I don't really remember if we had a firm definition of how the star posts work, if they were magical or technological or magitech. So, no.
Does Aaliyah remember?
No, I'm not going to shout across the room.
Oh.
So in general, Tails didn't really tap into his magical side. That was something that he occasionally trotted out when he turned into Turbo Tails and whatnot, but he was not magically inclined like Merlin was.
Archie Sonic was weird.
Yeah, delightfully so.
Sometimes. Other times it was just weird. And not in a good way. But usually it was in a good way. It was just goofy. That's fine. It's a comic book. What do you expect? Here's a question from Alex Arts here. Ian, Kyle, long time no see. Which do you think is more likely with regards to IDW? Mighty, Ray, and other classic characters returning to the modern setting, or humans showing up again? I'd be interested to hear what you think the specific challenges are with both of these.
Humans. No contest.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it's been established that they exist again in the same world as the animal people, it would still be more difficult?
No, it'd be more likely.
Oh, more likely. Oh, okay. I got it backwards. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that it's going to happen anytime soon, but they require zero explanation, and they're already baked into modern Sonic. So it's, okay, we went to the human region. There's the human. Ta-da! That easy peasy, super done, no problem. Classic characters, number one, would have to get a modern design. They would have to have a modern purpose. That would require SEGA to decide on these things. And it would increase the already monstrous modern cast even further. So knowing what I know, I would assume that we would see a human in IDW well before we saw modern Mighty.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Now, if 3 years down the line, we see modern Mighty and there's still no sign of Professor Pickle, and you come back and say, Ian, 3 years ago, you said it was more likely to be this. You know what? I was wrong. It happens.
What?
But we'll find out.
Well, amazing. You actually admit that you can be wrong.
That's right. He can be wrong.
Amazing. Here's a question from Alex KR. Sega has given you their blessing to bring back 2 of the characters featured in Sonic Spinball. What new adventures would you have in store for Hip and Hop?
maybe kind of play them as gray characters. I know from what I remember of the manual, it was supposed to be they were helping Sonic.
Yeah.
But why else are they in there working egg tech? Really? So, I don't know. I'd pitch the idea that they are not enemies, but kind of self-serving. So, they'll help Sonic just as readily as they'll help out Eggman. It's whatever they need at that particular moment.
Mm-hmm. They're very jumpy mercenaries.
Yeah. And, really lean into the fact that they just look identical. Play with the whole, they're completely individual people, except for when they're completely the same, which is usually to vex somebody else.
Mm-hmm. For some reason, they strike me as the kind of guys who would harass Tails for being called Tails and make fun of him for having two tails, but we've established that I guess those are different guys who did that, but whatever. It's Sonic, you can retcon it.
We just did that retcon. I don't want to retcon it again yet. Thank you.
Well, this is Sonic, so, could happen.
Trying to do better now, Kyle. Trying to do better.
Well, Sonic's still owned by SEGA, right?
At least for now. That's not prophetic or anything. That's just me being pessimistic. For comedic's sake.
Yeah, I'm also being pessimistic. Anyway, here's one from Alphamod or Yukin. Would Eggman and Starline fit in with the Guild of Calamitous Intent? How would both sides view each other in terms of villainy? And most importantly, how would Starline's interview for the Revenge Society go?
Now, with the Guild of Calamitous Intent, Eggman would not play ball. He is not going to follow anybody's rules. He's not going to pay dues. He's not going to observe protocol. He's a free agent. There's no way. He might humor the sales pitch, but he's going to work solo. Thank you very much. Starline, on the other hand, would eat it up. Are you kidding? Ample opportunity for vertical movement, a guaranteed supply base and personnel provided if you do well enough. The meritocracy is right there. It has all the razzle dazzle, but there's functionality, there's rules, there's etiquette. Oh, he loves it. He's finally found a home. So I don't know if he would even want to consider the Revenge Society, although were he to sit through that sales pitch, he would just kind of nod along with it, stand, bow courteously, and say, "You're insane," and leave.
Yeah. Would he be willing to join the Evil League of Evil?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I think
good.
He would initially be he would be enamored with this idea of Bad Horse. He has heard such stories.
Yeah.
And then he meets him and says, "It's a horse. Is this a prank? Am I being pranked? It's a horse. It's not even like me. It's just a horse. It's an animal." Until, Bad Horse makes him his mayor, and then he's like, "Oh, no, I understand. Yes, sir."
It's a prank, bro. Oy. Oof. Here's a question from Andrew D. Did you have any plans for how Dr. Cossack's Citadel, Proto Man's Castle, and Mr. X's Castle would have come about in preparation for their respective game adaptations, as well as every future Wily castle? Would Dr. Wily have kept sending robot masters to build every castle? And I might as well ask where Dr. Cossack lived. Was it in his Citadel? This is like 4 questions.
The core question being, where do all the Wily bases come after a point?
Yeah, I know.
And in general, it was all supposed to be X-Syndicate funded. That Wily was using Mr. X's foundation and his resources to build these castles and build the robots and build the forces and whatnot. I'd have to go back again and look at Mega Man 4 to see what Cossack Citadel looked like, and if that would be worthwhile explaining as like an ancestral family home that got Wily-tized, or if that was just Wily kind of leaning into what he likes and foisting it upon Cossack. But the general idea was that going forward, that Wily was taking advantage of Mr. X and using all of that illicit goods to finance his future endeavors.
Cossack Citadel looks kind of like a Russian castle.
Okay.
So it's got one of those big round thingies on the top of it. I don't know how to describe it. It just makes me think of Tetris.
Yeah. And maybe that could pass for the ancestral Cossack home. I don't know.
Yes. Like the Cossack castle.
There might even be like some obscure Japanese trivia that answers that.
Possibly.
The days when I did the research. So sad. So long ago.
I'm being told those are called minarets. All right, good to know. It's a pretty cool castle. Here's a question from OzJam. Recently had a small conversation with a mutual on Twitter over the recent IDW Sonic issues. While I've enjoyed them myself, they feel that many of the stories after your run have been underwhelming and aimless, underusing a lot of the game characters and feeling that the recent arcs are half-baked. Since these criticisms are for the current run, they know that you can't answer for Evan, but do you have any response as a writer for these criticisms toward the book?
If I were to give honest critique and criticism, it would be as a peer. However, this is the internet. This is the Sonic fandom. There are no shades of gray, and it would be misconstrued at best. So, out of respect for Evan and everyone involved with stuff that I haven't touched personally, I think it is the more professional option to not comment at this time, for good or for ill, because I just feel like it's going to be misused, unfortunately. So I will abstain from on it.
Alrighty. Here's a question from Axis. I'm not a huge fan of how SEGA wants Shadow to be characterized these days. Personally, post-reboot, Archie Shadow is my all-time favorite incarnation of the character. Now, let's say you're tasked to rewrite the story of Issue 6 of IDW Sonic, as well as Battle for Angel Island arc, but with the freedom to write your ideal version of Shadow. What changes would you make to these stories?
Here's the thing. Post-reboot Shadow isn't that different, to be honest. He was working under a lot of the same parameters.
He just can't emote, and that might be where people are getting hung up.
There's more to it that I really can't get into, but suffice to say, to answer the question, the end results would have been the same, really. The whole idea of his fight in the Metal Virus arc was the arrogance getting him overwhelmed. The original idea being that removing his inhibitor rings and letting out all of his energy would be enough to burn off the virus for a time, and ultimate life form, I've got it beat, until it encroaches faster than he can burn it off. And at the moment that he realizes, oh wait, I've made a mistake, he's turned. So ultimately he's supposed to be a victim of his hubris. The execution would have been different, but it would have come to the same end. And being incredibly aggressive against Super Neo Metal Sonic, honestly not that different there either. Like maybe some changes in dialogue or interaction, but overall, pretty much the same.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are going to argue with you on that one, but I mean, they didn't write it, I guess, so. Here's this one from Batman69 LOL. What if the BumbleKast, Eggman, Sonic, Knuckles, Sticks, Tails, and Amy were separately taken into the black and white rotoscope comic dimension from the Aha Take On Me music video?
Let's see. Well, Sonic would escape. Like, those two muggers or whatever would never be able to catch up with him.
No.
Tails would get... Tails and Sticks would each, in their own way, get metaphysical with it, find a pencil and start drawing their own ways to deal with that parallel dimension. Amy and Knuckles would beat up the muggers instead of trying to run away.
Yeah.
And Eggman would get lost. He's just kind of wandering around. What is going on here? I know people say I'm sketchy, but this is ridiculous.
Damn it.
Eventually comes stumbling out. Eventually comes stumbling out of his own closet back in the base. Hi, boss, where have you been? I don't know!
It's very confusing. Why is this here? I don't know. Nobody knows. God, I miss Boom. Here's a question from Blue Cube. Minor spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Have any of you two watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? Without spoiling much,
Not yet.
Yeah, I know, I haven't seen it either. It questions the overall mythos of Spider-Man and examines if suffering is necessary. Well, for Spider-Man, yes. So I ask, what would a Sonic story in that same vein be like? What ideas and tropes of Sonic stories could be challenged to such a degree?
I don't know if I would want to go in that direction necessarily. Hard to say with any kind of context, as again, I haven't seen the movie, but from the phrasing, it sounds like a degree of optimism versus pessimism. Whereas Sonic at his core is all about the indistinguishable heroism and hope. So in this regard, maybe a multiversal Sonic story would highlight how Sonics across each incarnation bring about positive change through their sheer determination and positive thinking. Regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how bleak it is, they never give up and they fight for others and they bring about good things. And that is what is so great about Sonic across every version.
Yeah, we've already seen what happens when you make his morals questionable anyway, so. Or at least make his moral judgment wrong. It's not fun. This one is from Brawl Render Lego Sonic. A recent recurring discussion I've seen on the Warzone of Sonic Twitter is that Sonic is not a hero, he just does what he thinks is right. Ignoring the fact that this is essentially the literal definition of a hero, what moments in Sonic's history do you think best showcase this idea, and what kind of story would you write to specifically showcase Sonic's lack of inherent heroism? Or do you personally believe this idea to be untrue to his character or whatnot?
I won't get into the greater debate, but to the point of your question, the first two stories that spring to mind are Black Knight, where he fights to liberate the storybook world, knowing full well that it's going to lead it to an eventual ruin, but at least it has the freedom to live out its natural progression rather than stagnating forever in a place of stasis. And Sonic X, where he's actively wrecking Eggman's machinery because he can see that it's got a brainwashing device built into it. Nobody else can pick up on it, so they think he's trashing Eggman's goodwill gesture, and they turn on him, and he's not going to sit around and explain that they're all doofuses. He's just going to get it done, even if it does look like he's actively disturbing the peace and trying to cause trouble.
Well, what would Sonic be if he wasn't actively trying to disturb the peace and cause trouble? I mean, it's kind of a thing that he does. I feel like, at least.
I guess also, to a degree, SA2. You know, the government said, you done stole the thing. And he's like, nah. Like, you come along quietly. And he's like, nah.
I mean, to Sonic, causing property damage is morally right.
It's a tricky thing to do, though, because you don't want Sonic to be fully in the wrong. Mm-hmm. You don't want to make him the bad guy. But at the same time, you don't want to have whatever he's fighting against be so flagrantly wrong that everyone else is an idiot for getting behind it. Like the aforementioned Sonic X episode could have been resolved more quickly if Sonic had just talked to his friends for 2 seconds. He can do that. That's not completely out of character. And you know, there is some debate with Black Knight's story on whether or not his decision was the right one. That one I feel like walks that line really well. But crafting something like that, it's tricky business and not something I can necessarily do off the top of my head.
Well, all I know, Ian, is that it doesn't matter now what happens.
Because he never will give up the fight.
As long as the voice inside drives him to run and fight, doesn't really matter who's wrong or who's right.
No.
And on that note, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more on the BumbleKast. We're back. Time for buttered noodles. Silver has to go back to the future, but he decides to bring one person with him from the past. Who would he choose and why?
I think he did extend the invitation to Blaze first and foremost.
Yeah.
Top of the list. He knows that she has duties in the present, but of anyone that he would want to bring back to his time and pal around with, it would be her. The rest of the Sonic cast, I guess, would be his second choice of varying degrees, but Blaze first and foremost. He wouldn't expect her to go with him because, again, he knows she has her duties. He wouldn't deny that of her, but he would still ask, pretty please. Sugar on top. Give him the big eyes.
Yeah. Here's one from Cece. Asking for a friend about New Crusaders. Did you have any plans about the character Yvette that you remember?
I had so many freaking plans for that title.
I know.
But for Yvette specifically, absolutely. I really wanted to have this ongoing subplot with her where she finds the rest of the armor. Find a way to recover the Belt of Aragon from Ralph. She already has the Helm of the Viapec, and find the rest of the set. Not that I had that nailed down specifically, but there would be other pieces, other spirits within, kind of make it a globe-trotting adventure, and her having to contend with having all these ethereal voices in her head, and they don't all get along, and she is given increasingly ridiculous power, and how she deals with all that. And for meek little Yvette to rise to the occasion and not just harness this power, but to rein in all the gods around her and say, look, this is what we're doing. And I think that was ultimately how we were going to beat Brain Emperor, is she's just so freaking overpowered with all the god tech that she just beats his ass. That's been a while. I don't remember exactly, but that's what I wanted for her. I wanted her to have just this crazy, successful hero arc.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Well, maybe it'll happen someday in the far future after Archie has sold off all its other IP and there's only one left. Oi. Here's a question from Classic Sonic. Classic Sonic being mute is something I relate to a lot. If you had to come up with a reason why he doesn't speak, what would it be?
At best, he just couldn't manage to get a word in edgewise next to modern Sonic, but that doesn't really track.
No.
That he was just kind of bemused by all these time travel shenanigans and just taking it in, for once taking a step back. That's not quite in theme with his proactive nature, but, we're applying a big old wad of plot spackle to this one.
Apparently he does talk, though. Just not in the games. Who knows why? Here's one from Conga. According to an interview of Johnny Gioeli done by the Crushcast, when asked what species Emobian he would be, Johnny answered he would like to be a gorilla. What will you do with this very important information? Fan artists are going to go wild on that.
Well, clearly there has to be some kind of background cameo Crush 40 band. Johnny Goriglioli singing in the background.
I'm ready. Time to do it. It's not Crush 40, it's Smash 40.
There you go.
All right, here's one from Cool Christy 01. Is Archie Sonic Comics supposed to be based on Sonic SatAM cartoon plus games? Archie told me that it's based on the games, but we had Sally Acorn and Bunny Rabbit for the whole series canon.
It, at the very, very beginning, was... Well, no, not even that, because they had the S6 Squad. It was a big melting pot of all Sonic media. Like, at the start, there was SatAM and Adventures of and game material with its own original spins on some of this stuff, and then it started incorporating other Sonic cartoons and media. So SatAM provided the framework, I guess, It was definitely hinged more around its base plot line, but it was based on a lot of things.
It was based on Sega of America Sonic, really, when you get down to it.
Yeah.
So, sort of what they established and what had been established in the games and in the cartoons. So, here's a question from Dandy Kaiju. Are there any animals Sega won't let you use besides hedgehogs or echidnas? Some animals don't seem to make any appearances, like horses or pigs, while some more out there animals, like apes, feature only in smaller roles.
Generally speaking. Now, I say generally because there will always be an exception somewhere. No bugs, no fish. I think reptiles and birds are okay, but the last bird I pitched had to be revised. But I don't know if it was because it was a bird. They typically don't want animals of extreme sizes, so like deer mice or whales or moose or stuff that would be really hard to translate to the Sonic style, like a giraffe. Sonic characters don't have necks. A giraffe is nothing but neck. How do you make that work?
No elephants, not even any horses.
Yeah. It was fun. There was a bit of concept art for Forces that came out a little while ago that showed them just workshopping ideas of species for the Avatar character, and some of those just didn't make the cut. I was like, oh, look at all these like baseline interpretive species for Sonic characters.
Delicious.
Fertile ground.
Yeah, I'm being asked if
obviously that's not like...
Go ahead.
Obviously that's not like hard and fast because, you know, we introduced Jewel, and, you know, fennec foxes are larger than hedgehogs and tenrecs, but Kit is smaller than Surge, so you know, they're not rules so much as guidelines.
I'm being asked if dolphins are okay. I think it extends to all aquatic creatures.
Yeah, aquatic life is a no-go. Mimic was a special case. Apparently there was a lot of people who had to do a lot of pushing to get Mimic to go through.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Kind of goofy. Kind of silly.
I mean, shoot. Kit wasn't even a fennec at first. He was just a fox in the initial pass.
Mm-hmm.
To really lean into the Kitsune myth, but they were like, let's make them a little different. Fennec foxes, they're like foxes but different. And it's like, okay, well, we can work with that. Keeps the visuals, keeps the joke.
Yes, but they also have giant ears, and they scream a lot. Apparently, they're very noisy. Here's a question from Dove. Nope, wrong one. Here's a question from Dev. I know we already have the game Shadow the Hedgehog explaining Shadow's origin of creation, but do you guys think we could ever get a game explaining where Shadow's abilities come from, such as Chaos Blast, Snap, etc., or do those all come from his relation to Black Doom?
All that comes from Big Daddy Doom.
Doom. Here's one from Dove. Let's say Sega wants you to write a new storybook Sonic and are willing to allow the IDW cast in, but the book they choose is Jurassic Park. All right. How do you retell the story? Who plays what roles? Is Eggman John Hammond? Did he clone dinos or make robot versions? Am I doing this as a desperate way to grasp at an Oviraptor joke? Yes. Yes, I am.
And good for you. Eggman is Hammond and necessitating robot dinosaurs does make the most sense.
And apparently John Hammond in the book was a real jerk.
Oh, he was horrible. I was glad he got eaten. But see, I only read the book once. I've seen the movie a million times, so that's the version that's more fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And I really just want to make him movie Nedry. Because imagine Mike Pollock Eggman doing the Nedry lines. Yeah. See the stick? See the stick? Stick, stupid! Go fetch! No wonder you went extinct. I'm gonna run you over on my way down.
See? Nobody cares.
Exactly! Oh my god, it'd be perfect.
You didn't say the magic words.
Abso-freaking-lutely. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Oh, man. It works too well. It works too well.
I know, right?
No! Oh, no!
Character-wise, it's a little hard to say because there isn't a great overlap in terms of personalities, and I almost default to the color coordination. So you'd have Sonic as Grant, Amy as Sadler, and hilariously, that would make Shadow Malcolm. And imagining Shadow trying to do a Jeff Goldblum is freaking hilarious.
Oh no. Oh no. Shadow with the open shirt.
But you didn't create it. Your scientists stood on the shoulders of great men, and then you patented, packaged it, slapped it on a lunchbox.
Can someone please draw Shadow in the Goldblum pose? Please. Oh.
I mean, if IDW cast is on the table, the best correlation I can think of is Whisperess Muldoon, and she gets clever girled, and that's sad. I don't want that for her.
Oh boy. The raptor is Tangle.
So Vegisaur scream, Vegisaurus.
Oh boy. God. Ay, ay, ay. Oh. I'm speechless at this point. I have nothing to add. This is amazing. Oh man. Being suggested Starline as Hammond. Maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. The arrogance. Spared no expense.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, that really does sound like him.
Alternatively, we could have Shadow as Mr. Arnold. You know, hacking away at the computer. You didn't say the magic word. Please. God damn, I hate this hacking crap. Everybody hold on to your butts.
Yes. And being suggested Orbot and Cubot as the Raptors. What, like they're just inside of
Coo, they're over here. They're giving away our position. Look at my big tappy toes. Tick, 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 tick. Goes flying face first in the reflection. Oh, it wasn't her. Cubot, help. They locked me in the refrigerator. We're fine as long as they don't learn how to open doors. No, it's a pull door. Cubot, pull door. Pull it. Hey, let's just go.
Sage is the fence.
She dramatically waits not to turn on just to get him at one.
Exactly.
Why doesn't Tails just fly over the fence? Shut up, that's why.
Who's the T-Rex? Oh, no!
You made a T-Rex? We made a T-Rex. He's very big.
Oh no, why does he sound like that? It would be either Big or Vector. Yeah. Vector might be funnier.
Yeah.
The T-Rex.
He's smashing through the Jeep. I haven't eaten in days. You got any snacks in the car?
Oh God.
He beats up the Orbot and Cubot Raptors and just throws up the horns as the banner comes going down. Yeah!
Wow. I wish this were the end, but we still got a couple questions left. Oh.
It would be worth it. One last thought. It
Yeah.
would be worth it just for the Crush 40 cover of the intro theme.
Yeah. As long as Johnny sings it.
Oh, yeah.
No lyrics, just da 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 da.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Oh boy. Oh god. Outstanding.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. He even talks like Malcolm. He does sound like Jeff Goldblum. Sorta. Close enough.
Oh boy. Too much fun.
I have tears. I was literally crying. Outstanding. Thank you for this one, Dove. E200 Paragon has a question. In IDW, Starline talks about how he spent his whole career, implying he spent years studying the powers of the warp topaz, with his hand being evidence of just how much he had to endure to perfect the technology. However, the same is not truly said about the imposters, since Starline seems to accomplish that project relatively quickly without much issue, aside from the imposters' eventual rebellion. Because the time span is kept ambiguous, my question is this. Is it possible for Starline to have made a prototype to the imposters, like a Bizarro Sonic, similar to how Shadow's prototype was the Bio-Lizard?
No, because Starline rushed his project out of beta. He was not thinking empirically or clearly. He wanted to prove his point, so he did his imposters as swiftly as possible, using the endoskeletons that he had developed. So there is no long lost imposter. At least that is not my intention.
Not yet. Who knows what will happen in the future? But yeah. And here's our last question from Fang. Hello, Ian. I recently finished My Hero Academia, so my question is inspired by this series. Starline's isekai adventures continue, but this time he's in the world of MHA. How would things play out for the good doctor? What arc would he survive until?
I don't think he would last terribly long. Once the announcement of the League of Villains was made, he would be super eager to join in because they sound right up his alley. You know, individuals organizing with extraordinary powers to destroy the status quo. Oh, sign him up. Except then he actually meets Shigaraki and he's like, oh, this kid is just a mess. He has no clear vision. It's quite obviously time for somebody else to step into the role and lead these children to a proper revolution. And that's when Shigaraki gets a hand on him, and the isekai adventures continue once more, and another plush is born.
Yes. Yes. All right, that's going to do it.
Sure, Shigaraki? We're going to just amicably hand over control? Sure. Shake on it. Absolutely. Oh,
no! Shook him a little too hard. All right, that's going to do it.
For reference, for those who don't know, Shigaraki atomizes anything he closes his hands around.
Ah, convenient.
That's the joke.
Okay. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the BumbleKast.
Thank you so much to all our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members for making this show possible. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Take care, everybody. Don't get eaten by a T-Rex Vector.
Good God, Jin. How did you do that fast?
Glorious. Outstanding. Thank you.
Please, can we use that for the thumbnail for this episode?
Thank you, Jen. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's see. She might not be the only one doing one. Suze, were you doing it too? You got a computer room in there?
And Sue's!
And Sue's! I mean, we could use both of them. double shirtless shadow.
If we get enough of them, we can just do like that Simpsons bit, do it for her, and just put one over every Maggie photo.
Oh, yeah, because I'm wondering who else is doing. Who else is drawing this? Oh, God.
It's a BumbleKast mini. No, it's not. That's the wrong intro. Ian.exe has suffered a critical failure. Correct intro in 3, 2, 1. Dominic, you've not missed anything. We're just setting up.
Yep, there's nothing you've missed. You've missed nothing. Nothing important. And even if you showed up an hour late, you probably still wouldn't miss anything important. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org. No, there's no Nermies here. The Nermies have gone home. For good, I hope. Yeah.